What's going on? Welcome to Jay's Garage. My name is Jeremy. We're getting back to some Jeep stuff today. We're talking about the Rugged Ridge Spartacus HD tire carrier for the Jeep JK. So I've actually been running this tire carrier for a long time, so let's call this a true long-term review. I put this tire carrier back on like the end of 2016. Here we are at the end of 2021, so we're looking at 5 years of use. One thing I can say right off the bat is this tire carrier did everything that I wanted it to. But before we get into all that, let's talk about why I picked this, how much this thing costs, and what it's done well, and maybe what some of the drawbacks are in the time that I've owned this. So what's the reason that you would want a heavy duty carrier like this? Really, if you're running on especially on a JK, if you're running anything like bigger than a stock tire or even like a 33, you're really pushing the capacity of the stock hinges as they're quite weak. Moving to something like this allows you to rest assured that your tire carrier can handle that 35-inch tire that you want to mount on the back of your Jeep, or that 37-inch, whatever you have going on. And just know that your tailgate's not going to have issues, and it's just that peace of mind. All right, so one of the reasons that I picked this heavy-duty tire carrier is because I wanted the heavier duty option that still mounts to the body. I didn't quite want to go the bumper route method, and because I just don't want to deal with potential rattling. I didn't want the tire sticking out too far. Really, there's a lot of reasons that you might pick a body-mounted spare setup. At the time, I didn't have anything bigger than a 37 on there, which is what this carrier is rated for as a max. I will say, however, that I do have a Milestar 38-1350 mounted on here now, and I've had no issues with that. But I will say that you probably wouldn't want to put anything bigger on this. Now, I wanted something that was aesthetically pleasing. I wanted it to be as close to the body as it possibly could be, and I really don't think you can get too much closer than what this carrier offers. You'll really want to be looking at this or something similar if you want to keep your tire as close to the vehicle as possible. That tire is right up against the body. I mean, that's like, really you can't get any closer, because on the other side the tire's touching the frame, and then over here the tire and wheel are touching the little factory rubber bumper back there. So the tire is only a couple inches from the body. It's nice and tight up against the body, which is gonna prevent it from catching on things as much. And really, it's kind of high off the ground. I'm gonna measure how high off the ground it is with my particular build. This is a 3.5-inch rock crawler kit with these 38-inch tires on it. So I'll put how far the bottom of that spare is off of the ground, but it's a good ways. And if you don't keep it full of air, you'll also get some flex, so if you drop off of a ledge, you're not gonna snag on it quite as hard. This tire carrier runs about $500 something. I want to say I might have even got it less back when I bought it in 2016. I'll put the current price up on the screen, just so you know the ballpark of what this thing goes for. Now, at the time that I bought this, there wasn't many other manufacturers that made this similar cast heavy-duty body-mounted tire carrier for the Jeep. The only other competitor, I believe at the time, was the TerraFlex model, which is easily another $300 more. And I've seen that one in person, and it's like really close to what you get with this Rugged Ridge. I'd be pretty hard pressed to buy the TerraFlex simply because of the name. So the installation on this was pretty straightforward. I did it 100% by myself. I used some boards under the bumper to help me align the tailgate. It can be a little bit tricky. It's better if you get help from a friend, but if you're handy enough, you can accomplish this job by yourself. I don't have any install footage. This is more of a long-term review, but the install really wasn't that bad. So some of the major selling points to me with this was all the adjustability. Like I said, with the third brake light, I'm able to position it over the tire. There's a lot of adjustability that allows me to position the tire appropriately and get it tight to the body. And ultimately the price. I think for the money, you're getting a really good spare tire solution. As you can see, the tail light is positioned nicely above the tire, which is nice. I mean, you want to keep good visibility of your brake lights, of course. Unless you just don't give a shit, you know, that's whatever. With this setup, just like much like the TerraFlex one, you cut off the factory tail light and it mounts into this new setup as if it was included in the kit. It's very clean the way it's mounted. You get a lot of adjustability. Another thing to keep in mind, like I said, this is a 38-inch tire. This is about as high as the brake light can go until you have to look into a some kind of extension for the cable. That's about as far as the factory cable for that reaches. There's just a little bit of slack, which you would want. This carrier's been on there for every bit of 5 years, and the finish and everything is holding up great on it. And surprisingly, I haven't provided any kind of like maintenance to the hinges. I haven't greased them or anything like that, and they don't give me any kind of noise or any squeaking. Still a nice smooth operation. Now, one thing I want to note is when you choose this method to mount your spare tire, there's both the convenience and the disadvantage of the full weight of the tire being on the door hinge. So the hinge is upgraded and it's up to the task, but you have to keep something in mind. Is a wheel and tire setup like this is probably about 110 pounds or more, just off the top of my head. And you know, so it's not very light. So that's 110 pounds on the door, makes for a pretty heavy swinging door. So it's something to consider. You do have the convenience of not having to swing the tire gate open first. If you get a bumper mounted solution, you'll have to swing the tire open first, then you can open the door. This is all right here on the door, and it's kind of nice. The disadvantage of this setup, however, is there's nothing that holds this door. This hinge doesn't have any kind of locking mechanism that keeps it that way. There's like a little bit of weight on the hinge that sometimes helps the door not move, but if it's on any kind of an angle or anything like that, there's nothing that's going to stop the door from wanting to close. So something to keep in mind, and it can close with some good force because, like I said, there's a 110 pound plus tire and wheel setup on there that's going to help it swing shut. So the door has a nice closing operation. I don't really have any real complaints there. It does close kind of heavy. You don't need to close it with a whole lot of force. You will want to make sure that you get your door nice and aligned properly though. Definitely take your time to dial it in. Mine wasn't right the very first time I did it. It was close, but I went back and I adjusted it. All right guys, well, I think I covered enough on this carrier. It's served me great over the last 5 years. If you're looking for a nice, clean, not over the top, heavy duty tire carrier that keeps the tire nice and close to the body and doesn't allow it to stick out too far to catch obstacles, this is probably the tire carrier for you, or at least something similar. I hope you guys found this video informative. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more from Jay's Garage, hit subscribe. It's starting to rain out here. It's time for me to go. See you guys later.